Well, good morning, good afternoon. How are you today? Welcome everybody to Tech Talk with Zysel. My name is Tri Nguyen. I am one of the product managers and also now the channel sales manager here at Zysel. What we wanted to make sure is that if you could raise your hand, just doing a quick sound check. If you can hear my voice, okay, just let me know. Thank you so much, James. Thank you, Brett. Welcome everybody. Welcome again to this session. What we want to do is in this forum is to introduce you to maybe a topic of discussion, introduce you also to Zysel and who we are and what we do, and then open it up to like a Q&A. You can also use the chat box. So I like to use this as a kind of an interactive time where you get to ask me questions while we're presenting. We can talk about different topics and things like that as within the kind of the framework of the topic. Talk about any questions you have. And how maybe the technology can fit into your applications and things like that. So again, please use the interactive. If not, if you want to just ask a question, you can use the Q&A section. But again, my name is Tri Nguyen. I am been here at Zysel for, it's going to be 16 years now in May. So I'm pretty excited about that. Been here a long time. And it's a lot of fun because there's a lot of new technologies that continue to come out. And there's a lot to talk about and a lot to interact with you all as partners and as potential partners. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I have about 30 some slides to go through. We may not touch all of them. I just have it there as potential, talking points and things like that. So it depends on how the discussion is going. If you guys have, again, different questions or using the chat box, just message me directly. I'll see that and we'll make it, kind of fun and interactive. So just as a quick introduction, like usual, if you've been here before, 30 years of networking expertise. We've just celebrated our 30th year right there. We're really proud of being able to be kind of the longevity of it. We're not like a startup that just started yesterday. We've been around for a long time, working with a telco, working with a lot of small businesses. We've powered up 700,000 businesses using Zysel solutions, 1,500 employees worldwide, serving 150 global markets, powering up 100 million different connections that are in the world today. So we offer a wide range of business class products within kind of a commercial portfolio. Anything from security appliances, wireless access points, switching networks with PoE or for your IP surveillance, gateways that provide hotspot functionality, Facebook login, that kind of thing, and also be able to manage it all in the cloud, in a standalone appliance or by itself. So again, a full range of products. And that's what I usually tell our partners, again, is like how we have everything under the sun. When you're talking about some sort of network connectivity, think Zysel, because you can probably say, hey, I wonder if Zysel has something that does this, regarding networks. And we probably most likely do, all the way from this telco to all the small businesses. But today I want to talk about how to secure business networks and how to figure out what kind of products kind of fulfill or fit the needs of your customers. By a raise of hands, how many people are already doing kind of security with Zysel right now? So if you're already selling Zysel UTM services or doing VPN or doing those kinds of securities. All right, great. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, James, Joe. Awesome. Okay, fantastic. So if you haven't yet jumped into the world of Zysel security, this is a great time to do it because there is kind of a point in time now that we're realizing people are going through an upgrade cycle because of internet connectivity is now being, gone faster, have really greatly improved. And so we're able to now capture, there's a really good capture point where people are looking for an upgrading their hardware platform. And then also security is on their mind as well. So a lot of small businesses are concerned about vulnerabilities, how to prevent data breaches, or even service failure, right? I think those are kind of the big deals at small businesses. Small businesses don't want to be down. They want their internet connection to always be there and always be secure. And I think a lot of SMBs can experience a lot of downtime due to either a security breach or through downtime of maybe their connectivity is down. So how do we find ways to improve that connectivity and security at the same time? Those are the challenges. Small businesses are also vulnerable because most of the time they don't think that, hey, they're big enough to even be, to be attacked or even to be targeted. And that's kind of the wrong mentality that we want to be able to improve on and to showcase to the customers that they need protection, just like kind of insurance per se. But because a lot of times they don't react until they're actually been hit, right, with a lot of these kinds of malware. So there's a lot of issues that can come into play, either malicious attacks that come into play through, or even just human error, system glitches. So half of them are about malicious, are malicious type attacks going after a small business through, again, malware, different kinds of things like that. So another thing that they're also worried about, or especially for small businesses, that they don't typically have, very high budgets, right? They want to be very cost effective. It typically is a, one-man shop type IT shop, right? So there could be 5 to 15 employees sometimes, right? So they don't typically will worry so much about security, or at least it's not in their forefront of their mind, because they don't necessarily have the budget for it. But that offers a bunch of risk. You have a lot of cyber attacks, vulnerabilities, and things like that that come into play. Now, cyber attacks never have any issues. I mean, in terms of cyber attacks never rest, right? They're always there. They're always ongoing, and it's always possible to become a victim of that. So WannaCry, Blue Key botnets, those kinds of things were always, be prevalent, and it continues to multiply, continues to just showcase how all those kinds of cyber activities and things like that continue ongoing. It's always ongoing, right? New viruses always show up. One of the major ones is called cryptojacking. And cryptojacking has continued to increase as, bit currency, or cryptocurrency has become very popular. They're utilizing, through malware, taking over machines, taking over servers, taking over laptops, to doing and bidding its own business. I think a lot of viruses in the past had been, about disrupting or just taking down machines. But people are realizing that they can use the machines for their own benefit. So either using them as, zombie hosts, to find other hosts, or to use all their CPU cycles to create, to do the bit mining on its own, right? So it slows down the computer. It makes them a lot of times unusable. But people don't realize that. And sometimes even cloud servers are even taken over. So if you're hosting a service within a co-location, that server may be, taken over, and all of its CPU cycles, which you're paying for, could be, you're just paying for them to be able to do mining. So that's kind of the issue that comes into play. So again, it's all about education. I think to not only to figure out which security solution is good for your customer, is to also educate the customer to find out what they really feel, a need for, to prevent, these kind of security issues. Ransomware continues to be rampant as well. Even just the WannaCry before in the past, and the Petya virus that had been very prominent. There's a lot of variants, and in fact, you can create ransomware as a service now. I mean, actually, there is a ransomware as a service in the cloud. It lets you create ransomware for educational purposes only, right? So they're there to kind of find ways to exploit and take over machines and cause people, just again, disruption. Small businesses can't handle that kind of downtime. Their machine gets taken down. So how do we block, and how do we make use of that? And of course, people are using more and more applications in the cloud, where not only do they need security, but they need the speed, right? Typically right now, I know you and I probably have at least 3 or 4 connected devices, like right now, with your phone, your tablets, your laptop, and then not even talking about your home office that potentially has a lot more applications. But you're doing voice, video, data with your VoIP phones going to the cloud. You're doing backups to the servers that are in the cloud. And so speeds are also increasing. So all of these applications kind of coming together and merging in a way that is really making existing kind of hardware that may be installed, since the last few years, obsolete, right? They cannot handle the speeds that are there while maintaining the security that's required. So we know that from a security standpoint, we need to educate customers that this kind of solution you need is like layer 7 scanning. I think there's a lot of kind of old school people who are still in the mindset of, well, SPI firewalls are good enough, right? That I could just block some ports and now I'm safe. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And if you're in the IT and IT management side of things, it is definitely not the case, because all of these kinds of applications are a lot smarter. They're using other ports. They're using existing ports. So you have to scan them at the layer 7 level, meaning at the application level. But doing so requires more processing. It's more secure, but then it's usually lower throughputs because it is more processing. So how do you enable, full UTM, in that kind of business? Because typically when you're looking at when you're trying to scope out a network, the SPI firewall, when you're looking at a data sheet, the typical UTM performance on that, based on that number, is like 10%. It's like a tenth of the speed because of all that scanning. And then on top of that, you have to also look at the actual, those are the theoretical max that you usually see on the data sheet. And usually I tell my customers, you can kind of ballpark about 50 to 60% of that number will be your actual throughput speeds, or what you would notice if you kind of went to a speedtest.net and did your own kind of speed test. That's kind of the number that would be expected. So if the WAN speed is within that, then you're safe to do. So it wasn't a problem before because a lot of the UTM products, were able to push beyond 50 megabits per second. But I don't know about you, but it's pretty available nowadays to get, 100 meg with VDSL, or even with your cable modem service through like a business cable provider that allows for you to do multiple 100 gigs, right? And I'm sorry, not gigs, 100 megs, and even going up to gigabit fiber in a lot of cases. And now on the horizon, you're going to see multi-gig offerings start popping up as well as multi-gig switches become more widely available. And so how do we combat that? The common workaround right now when you're maybe talking to your customers is, well, you have higher speeds. If you want to use your existing hardware, we'd have to lower the security level. So we're doing less scanning so that it makes it, faster. Or we could install something that is, in that same kind of product scope that is more expensive because it has higher throughput capabilities. Or you could just live with the lower speeds that you paid for, which any of those three, I would say most customers don't accept, right? They're not acceptable solutions. So how do we combat that? What we do is we do multi-layer threat scanning in a way that is very effective and do it very efficiently. So multi-layer protection, because there are many different threats that are out there: content filtering, botnet, application control, sandboxing, anti-malware, intrusion detection. All of these play not only from the inside out, but outside in, but also inside out. Sorry, I didn't say that exactly the way I wanted, but usually you're typically talking about traffic and threats that are from the outside trying to get into your network. But a lot of times nowadays, it's also from the inside out. Okay, so we need to offer multi-layer of protection. And so using a product that allows for you to adapt with the different threats that are out there and do it in a way that is kind of cross-cloud or crossing through the cloud makes it a very beneficial, a very flexible, very adaptive type product. So with an advanced unified threat management system, we have the ability to do anti-malware, intrusion detection, content filtering, application security, layer 7 scanning, and sandboxing. And sandboxing is a pretty important piece of this puzzle that helps you to really go to that next level of security. So we have malware blockers, so just kind of education on some of these functionalities of this particular product line, and I'll showcase what it is. But I wanted to tell you kind of why these things are important. So being able to do signature-based malware blocking, that's kind of your usual virus kind of applications there. Being able to prevent common files, web content, any downloads and things like that, and be able to optimize that and carry it through into the cloud, getting daily updates using a global query database to be able to block zero-day malware. So we can stay ahead of what's coming in that. Using URL DNS blocking with like a content filtering service. So even filtering users trying to access applications or things in the cloud, and doing it at a very efficient way. So really low latency, be able to query into the cloud to find out, hey, what is this URL going to? So if you're looking for applications where your customers are saying, hey, I want to block Facebook, YouTube, or even just general productivity type kind of blocks or securing, this is kind of the function that you would need, URL DNS blocking. And so that allows for you to not only block HTTP, but also encrypted HTTPS, web pages. So again, if you're having this issue where secured web pages are still getting through, definitely take a look at this solution here. But we're using a cloud query to check all the URLs, and then we can take appropriate action, whether to block it. We can detect if a web page has been marked as maybe a malicious website, or even from a categorical standpoint, you can choose different types of categories or categorizations to block and control access. So inappropriate web pages or things that are just not business related. Or you can say, hey, I'm going to block everything except for an approved whitelist. You can do that as well. So it has those flexibilities, functionalities to do that. Geo Enforcement, meaning that you can translate your IP addresses or IP addresses from networks from outside your office even, and map it to actually a geographic location. So you can find out where the traffic is from and utilize that information to allow or block. So you can use that as part of your firewall rule. So how does it work? So basically, devices are trying to go out. They can go to specific places, and again, it translates to different countries. And you can control the outbound connectivity, or you can block the inbound as well. So you could tie it to a security policy. So even outside connections like VPN into your office, if you say, hey, those are for my teleworkers, those are for my employees who are working, outside the office, but they all exist or they all usually work from within the United States, then you can say, hey, I'm going to block everything else except for those IP addresses that are known to be within the United States. Now, application control is another very important. It's part of that layer 7 scanning. It allows for you to identify different applications. So you can block down to the application level any malicious content, of course, or you can even block things like peer-to-peer access. So again, figuring out what is the security need of your customer, where they may say, hey, I have a problem. I just got an internet notification from my ISP that said, hey, someone in your network or within your control has been downloading some sort of movies or illegal music, whatever it may be, and you need to stop. So they give you a cease and desist letter from your ISP and cites those those breaches per se. And so a lot of times small businesses have no tool to be able to even know what's going on within their network. So application security allows for you to not only block those things, so you can block like BitTorrent, you can block those kinds of applications because you know exactly the packets that are coming through are of that that application. So using the packet header scannings, things like that. So you can then choose to block that, and you can log that information. So you can literally find out which devices or who is using those kinds of services or doing those things, and then obviously take action. Or you can do something that's pretty cool as well. Once you've identified traffic, before in the past you would block or allow. It's pretty black and white. You just blocked or allowed, just like a port. But they will nowadays you can actually use that information to prioritize. So if you want to say Office 365 is going to be prioritized in the cloud, then that traffic can actually get prioritized. While if you're allowing people to listen to any music and things like that while they work, you can set it for certain hours or outside of their hours as well, right? You can be very controlling of how you do that. So you can set those policies. Now, IDP is intrusion detection prevention. And again, it's both for inbound and outbound, being able to use a signature or an anomaly or a behavior to block things like buffer overflows, any kind of web attacks, malicious exploits, the anomalies like different protocols that are being used or any kind of traffic anomalies. And then, a lot of botnet CNC servers calling home packets. So any kind of malicious malware inside that's trying to call home to a hacker's server somewhere that he has hosted so that, they can have access back in, those kinds of packets can actually be blocked as well. So again, it depends on kind of the situation. We know that the kind of the UTM solution is kind of a holistic, right? It blocks everything or anything you may need. So again, it's finding out what the customer's pain point is. Is it content filtering? Is it, they got hit with ransomware? Is it, people downloading illegal things? Again, that kind of puts the door, at least your foot in the door of providing this kind of solution, right? So We know that conventional UTM, though, is based on signatures. So based on anti-spam, intrusion detection, virus, application control, content filtering, those things that I talked about earlier, but they need to have the signatures themselves, right? It needs to be known in order to block it, like say it's bad or say it's good and allow for the traffic to go through. But with that, there is a lot of gray area, which also causes some false positives and things like that. So you can't really identify that with conventional UTM. So ATP products, which is our advanced threat protection, uses what we call sandbox and the AI in the cloud to manage that that gray area. So how does it do that? Well, basically files and traffic, mostly files that are coming through the network. If it's unknown, there's no signature for it, and there's no kind of it's not known at all, like an unknown threat, it will actually send the file to the cloud side, where then it gets analyzed, it gets emulated in a sandbox, right? A sandbox is all a safe place where you can do things. Programmers use that so that when they are debugging or they're executing these files, that it doesn't cause havoc, doesn't affect other things, right? It's kind of encompassed within a box, right? So that's what we do. We see if it's trying to make connections out to the cloud, if it's trying to make connections to somewhere, anything malicious behavior, tries to write a file. And so we identify it, we find its patterns, we look at it within the sandbox. And once we identify it, let's say it's a malicious type attack, we can basically quarantine that information and then create a signature info, right? And this is very important. It creates a brand new signature into the database. And this database is within the cloud. So you actually have peace of mind knowing that there is a very comprehensive and very adaptive solution for security. So at the same time, you have that, you have the peace of mind, but you also get the visibility. You can see with different alerts how you want it within a managed kind of solution section. So you have that ability to see all that, provide that to your customers and things like that. So what is, the best defense, right? Typically customers will say, all right, you've sold me. What is your offer, right? I want some sort of filtering. I want some sort of blocking. I want to be protected. So what is the best defense? And what I would suggest is to ask a few questions, right? Again, it's similar to what I've already kind of touched on. This is kind of more of a summary of that. We have a product matrix document comparison. If you'd like to talk and reach out to our sales team, they have that available to give to you. Kind of helps you think through and look at what we have from a specs and speeds and feeds and that kind of thing, and also which competitive models that matches to ours. So we have that tool for you. So definitely reach out to that. But usually when I'm on a call with one of our sales team and we're kind of figuring out who or what type of products will fit for that, I usually ask, well, what kind of level of UTM security do you need? Do you already have UTM? What kind of blocking do you want? Are you looking at making sure your network is secure? Are you worried about productivity? So that kind of puts it into play on what level of security you want. What's their target WAN speed? So what is it now, and what is it a year or two from now, right? That you want it to be. A lot of times they may have already upgraded to a 500 meg, and they're probably going to stay that for at least a few years, and so you have something to work with. Or you would have to build in a kind of a upgrade path, or kind of build in a solution that is future-proofed, right? So at this time, also, what is the current firewall? That's what I usually will ask as well, because it kind of helps me. If they have a competitive product, then I can, again, refer to some of these documentations to know what is the equivalent Zycel firewall that would fit in that space. Desires to block Facebook and YouTube. That's kind of my number one, that people always ask me. So I usually ask them before they even realize that sometimes. It's like, do you have the desire to block Facebook or block YouTube? Again, that's just giving me a general guideline of knowing which product to fit. Now, the cool thing is that there is one product that will handle it all, to be managed in the cloud or in standalone. We do have a wider portfolio because you may have some applications that just need a straight VPN or a straight base UTM that's managed in the cloud, or just a standalone device. But the one that I want you to learn about mostly, or to push, is the ATP series. Why? Because it is the most advanced technology that's available for small businesses to do sandboxing, threat management, and all the UTMs combined, right? So all the USG type series security solutions that we had talked about and that we use is all encompassed in this one platform and in this portfolio. So the Advanced Threat Protection ATP product comes into play. So it gives us the best of both worlds. It's not only a full-featured advanced threat protection, but it also protects you with unknown viruses. How it works is, again, like you saw earlier, we defined the malicious content, we make it into a signature, and that signature is then spread through the cloud. So all of the ATP devices within the cloud network, right, that's connected back to our system for all of the database, signature database, is now going to be protected by a virus or a file that had been transmitted on, somewhere else, right? So that's how this whole ecosystem. So over time, the more ATPs are out there, the more files and more of this kind of anything that comes through, the more we can identify what's good and bad. So it continues to learn and grow. And so it provides not only high speed throughput, but also, again, that high level of threat protection, being able to do everything, turn everything on, and be able to see some of the very high real world throughputs. Now up to, it's 1.2 gigs when you turn on AV and IDP, but that translates to anywhere between 600 to a 700 megabit connection if you were planning that out. We use some of the industry leaders out there as well for our threat intelligence. So we cover a wide range of threats. So from the customer's perspective, Zycel provides really a seamless protection of a lot of different technology partners: Bitdefender, QoS, Webroot. Lastline provides the sandboxing, Trend Micro, Siren with the content filtering, and even Kaspersky. So again, we're using their intelligence. We're using what they do and focus on best, and what they use to creating the signatures of all the knowns. So it's not only tying in the threat information that's from these leaders, but also using what we learn within the ATP cloud side and the AI to kind of fill in the gaps as well, right? So all in one there. So I wanted to introduce a new product line that we had just recently launched, and that is our ATP 100, right? So it's really, again, a small package box. If you guys have seen like our USG 20 line, it's pretty much that same form factor, but it is able to deliver up to 250 megabits of UTM performance turned on, on the theoretical max. So this is perfect for like a 100 to 150 megabit internet connection for around street price of $400, which includes all the services bundled into it for 1 year. So everything is unlocked on it. It's still in its metal housing. So it's a metal housing box. And actually it's pretty substantial in terms of how it's weighted and stuff like that. But you can really feel the quality. You can really feel that, but you can also see the quality within the product line itself, right? Being able to offer at a very cost-effective price for the small businesses without having to spend, hundreds, thousands of dollars in order to get that kind of throughput speed. So you can take a comparison on what your, what competitor speeds are on what's already there, what they're using, and kind of look at this price point and its performance. Jack asked, any plans of adding SD-WAN to ATPs? There is some discussion about that. So we are looking into that right now. We know that on the VPN series is where the SD-WANs are currently, but naturally what usually happens is when it's on one, it eventually has a roadmap that will move to the whole thing. So it is in talks of that, Jack. As far as a schedule, I don't have that right now. But we'll keep you posted on that. So maybe we'll talk about that in another tech talk at that time. But being able to, again, everything that I had talked about from an ATP standpoint, all encompassed and all kind of packaged in this really small, cost-effective product. And it kind of completes our, it kind of expands our reach for our portfolio for the ATP series. So you can see we already have the 200, the 500, and the 800. We are already just released the ATP 100, and we have an ATP 700. So you'll see a 250 megabit, 450, 700, 1,000, and a 1,200, right? So again, it's a range of products that kind of helps to fulfill different needs within the small business to the medium-sized businesses. And that's, again, where we focus. So we're bringing that kind of security performance into the small business. So this is the product line that I would say moving forward is where you want to switch customers to as new. If you're already selling USGs now and you have customers who are up for either renewal, definitely look at the appropriate ATP models. What about adding ATP to Nebula? That's also under discussion right now. There is we will be announcing some more information about a hardware platform of this type, of these speeds to the Nebula. So that's all I can really say about that right now. But probably within the next month or so, you'll start seeing some marketing ramp up, or even start seeing some introductions of that. So if you're interested, Jack, in that kind of program, we will have like a beta program for that hardware that's going to Nebula that has the ATP functionality or ATP series. It may or may not be the ATP itself. That's what I can say at this moment. All right, but if you want to, if you're interested in that or in any of our kind of beta programs, again, just reach out to our sales team. And if you have that capability to provide us feedback, to do some testing, to go through the GUI device, we're happy to send you samples of these to work through and to check it out, right? To help us with that. Especially if you already have experience with Nebula, then it really helps us to kind of get it into someone's hands who is kind of experienced about it and knows what they're looking for and how to feed that back. Again, thank you. One of the problems with the rack mounted diecast gear is we have the other higher end models. I think the 200 starts having a rack mount ear, so you can put it on. So again, this is more for like a cost effective, where you're just trying to find, hey, a small office where this needs to stay, or within the wall mount backing that's here as well. How do you sign up for the beta? Just reach out to our sales team and just say, hey, you want to be part of that. We'll put you on a list that helps us to say, hey, when we do have new firewall type products, we have a customer or we have a partner who would love to help with that. Thank you, Joe. No problem, Jack. I appreciate the question. All right, so that's kind of the whole portfolio of the UTM of the ATP series. A little bit just more of the specs because this is a newer product. It has WAN ports, so it has an SFP fiber port and also a WAN port. So you actually could change, apparently you can change this also to be a LAN port if you needed to as well. You can change the interface type so it becomes part of a LAN. But there's dedicated for LANs and or DMZ ports. You can define what it is. Sorry, that's the console port. The WAN port and the fiber. So if you have fiber directly to the location, or if you're looking to do some sort of fiber managed service, like if you wanted to provide fiber to the office or within the building, that's kind of a cool thing that you could do is bring a large internet connection to a building. You have a relationship with that building in multi-tenant unit, and you can run fiber fiber to the prem. And if you do that, you can still use the transceivers that you plug directly into here. Any of the Zycel transceivers will work and provide you SFP fiber connectivity. What you'll see is when you do run like a speedtest.net through this device, you're actually going to see 850 megabits per second. So it's almost going to push 1 gig when you do that. And that's what we've been seeing in our lab tests. Now, if you're doing full UTM and you turn it on, you may still see 850 megabits because not everything is necessarily scanned when it's just doing the real world test. But in actual throughput, when it's actually being scanned per se, then you'll see it performing at, like I mentioned, 50 to 60% of the UTM data sheet connectivity. It also manages up to 10 access points, so it's already built in with a controller. So if you want to use it in standalone mode and not part of the kind of the Nebula platform yet, you can still use our managed APs, anything that is like 5000 series and above, and be able to manage them and provision them, auto provision, auto detect, change the configurations, change SSIDs within this box. So you never really have to worry about the AP side. It'll detect it. It will go into that detection mode and do that. It's also a fanless design. So if you're looking for a solution, say, you know what, this is going into the office space. It's sitting on someone's desk. We're sitting underneath IT's desk. Or you have a doctor's office where they just need to have this somewhere in the prem, and where the demarc location for the cable modem service or whatever comes in, this could be just sitting right next to it, right? And so it's very quiet. It has no fan. So it's a great solution to be able to provide that kind of speed with these kinds of feature functions. And then you're able to know the threats. Again, using, it also comes as part of the package, 1 year of Secu Manager. So it's Secu Report. And what Reporter does is gives you visibility in the cloud of the data, of all the threats that are happening. So you can see sandboxing information. You can see like showing the trends of how many files are being scanned, what they are, the file types, what they are executed as, right? You get a lot of this kind of information. And it's very helpful to find out and to be able to feedback if you're looking at these logs later on and be able to analyze that information. A botnet filter, threat website traffic. You can see the top threat websites, how they're categorized, who's been to them, all those kinds of malicious URLs, and be able to get that information. Because part of the thing is you always want to be able to show value to your customer. A lot of times with these kinds of security products, it's similar to insurance or whatever it is. It's like, I know I have it, but how do I know it's working, right? That's kind of the number one question we have. Using Secu Reporter, you're able to showcase and be able to create reports, monthly reports on threats, and be able to send those PDFs and customize how you want it to look, and send it to your customer to say, hey, you know what? We blocked this many, you were blocked, we protected you against this many viruses, this many malware. These are your users that have been using the internet. This is how much bandwidth they've been using, which websites were most popular, who goes to those websites, those kinds of information. That really shows the value, especially if you're looking at charging them on a monthly basis, right? That's kind of the way that we want partners to be able to go, is to be able to provide recurring revenue streams in this kind of managed service application. And so this is a great platform that gives you access to all of those things. You're able to, you can upsell or create even different platforms or different offerings, right? Different levels of service where you get the first, you can even say you get the first year free, right? And after that, you can be charging them for a nominal fee to manage all that and to give them that reporting and give them that information. Be able to, again, see things like the IP reputation, doing threat management based on IP addresses that are potential threats that are out there, be able to block those, any kind of risky, malicious IPs, or anything that's targeting the site and be flagged as malicious. That information is again, either provided or you can see it within this threat management system. One last thing is that Zycel is actually one of 7 brands in the world that offers a solution that has a VPN gateway, including the ATP, that's validated by both Amazon AWS and Microsoft Azure, right? So that means we can connect to the cloud in a way that allows for us to actually be approved to connect to those 2 cloud systems. Now, I don't know how many of you are already doing that, or maybe you don't even realize that. If anybody subscribes to like an AWS or Azure, you can then host, cloud services or cloud devices per se, application, virtual appliances that do, DNS, file sharing, web hosting, all those kinds of things. But if you want to have access to it as if you were sitting, the machine was in your local location, you have to have the VPN gateway that will build this. James asks, is the sandboxing functionality totally secure and HIPAA compliant? I know it's encrypted, but anyone have access? So we do have basically a statement of how it's secured and how that information does not get out of that system. So there are discussions on does that make it HIPAA compliant and things like that. And so there is, just talk to me. We can talk offline about how that is. From my understanding, that it is, because this is how the sandboxing on all the systems work, right? They have to send the file somewhere in a secure manner, and that's what basically we have a statement that says, hey, we're doing this in a secure way, and none of that information is passed on. The results of the scans and things like that is basically a hash of the file. So we don't know what the original content is. We just know what the file would look like from a hash standpoint, and that's what is used as a signature to identify that unique hash across the entire ecosystem. So that's what what happens within those things. Now, you can always make exceptions for different applications and things like that as well. So you can choose to not have that kind of sandboxing within it. So it depends on your application and how to do it, but pretty much we're following those kinds of standards to do our sandboxing solution. A comparison, so I just wanted to throw a direct comparison to some of the direct competitors out there. You'll see some of these products out there. So as a partner, if you are selling any of these products, you can see how it lines up to our ATP series, from a head-to-head standpoint. I mean, the cool thing is that even the SonicWall TZ, 300, even at that level, is a little underperforming compared to our ATP 100, which is our smallest box. So from a $400 device that has full UTM, full license bundled together, that's what you're getting with the ATP 100. All right, so if you are currently a partner with us, again, thank you so much for being a partner. If you are not a partner, you want to sign up to be a partner. It doesn't cost you anything. It just allows for you to get different advantages, different discounts at distribution, which is where we're working to be channel friendly, right? That's some of you who've already been a partner can already realize that you can make margin and sell hardware on, using Zycel. We want you to get to the gold tier, because that gives you the best benefits, the best margins as well. Now we do have access, no matter what you're at, to deal registrations, which gives you the discounts. But pretty much silver, as long as you maintain 6,000 in a half-year period, you'll be in silver, and if you can hit up to 12,000 in that half year, you'll be in gold. So really, we've been working with partners who literally have 1 or 2 projects that will automatically put them into that silver or gold. Now, when you first sign up, you'll start out at silver, so we give you that kind of best benefit. So as long as you can maintain that, and we pretty much check, we tier down people every 6 months, but if you are able to improve faster or get to the gold level quicker, then usually within the month after that, we'll have you in the new tier. All right, so that's how it goes. We want you to, again, be a partner. It doesn't cost you anything, but again, it gives you access at all those distributors: TNH, Ingram, Synnex, Wave, and Target Distribution, which we just brought up last September, and they've been very successful. We've been really happy in working with them as well. They've been, very, very. A lot of our distributors were very engaged with. So look forward to engaging you in that way. So if at this time, if there are any questions, please, again, feel free to use the Q&A or the chat box. Again, I like to interact with you as much as possible, and make this educational, make it fun, and be able to show, hey, Zycel is here to be able to provide you a solution, and that we're here to help you, right? So if you want to reach out to me, my email address is try@zycel.com. Pretty easy. I've been here so long that I get the first name basis type email. So that's my email address, tri@zycel.com. Drop me a message and ask, hey, if you have any questions related to this topic or even other topics, I can help to either answer them or direct you to who can help you with that. I primarily manage the security product line and the switch network product line. So those are my 2 specialties. Sean Rogers, which you've probably seen in the different Nebula and other tech talks as well, is related to Nebula and to wireless applications. So that's kind of a 2-man team that we have here from the product management standpoint. And we continue to work with all of our product management team in overseas as well to bring you. So also, if you have feedback, again, part of the interactive nature that we want to be with you as partners is you being able to provide us with, field information, right? The fact that you go, you know what, I have customers that are needing this kind of, I see this as becoming a feature, or see this kind of application becoming more prominent. Then we can look at how do we market, how do we help you to market, how do we bring the solution right to the forefront so that it can be promoted or whatever it is, or even get product to be made for those kinds of applications or the features, right? So as you're working through the ATP, I think if any of you have sold the UTM type services before with our USGs, you realize that over the past 5-6 years that the product's been around, we've continued to add new features, new functions. Like we added hotspot functionality. We added now all the VPN AWS functionality. It continues to evolve. So even with the new ATP, we will continue to evolve that solution as well. So your feedback on how do we improve it, how do we make it better to install, kind of the whole user experience, whatever it may be, please feel free to provide that to me, to provide it to your sales team. We have sales reps that are dedicated for east west, or if you're more strategic, we have again a sales reps that will handle your account. So you get to talk to somebody, right? That's kind of the big deal. You have somebody to talk to, not only for security solutions, but for pretty much any networking solution, right? So if there are no other questions at this time, again, I appreciate your time spending the last 45 minutes or so with me. We'll do this again. So look forward to it next time. Just find out, you'll get some email information for maybe the next webinars that's coming up. We have some exciting things coming out in the next month or so. So I look forward to being able to present that and have you discuss that with me as well. If there are any topics that you say, hey, you know what, I want to learn more about this either application, this vertical, and how does Zycel fit into that, let me know. I will put together a Tech Talk discussion for that. And again, hopefully you can interact with me more, be able to feel comfortable to ask me any kind of questions. Again, I love for this to be more of that, like, kind of a chat basis, again, for you to be able to find find out information that you need. How do we at Zycel can better arm you with materials or with comparison sheets and things like that? How do we find ways to help win for Zycel? So again, appreciate your time. Appreciate spending this Tuesday with me. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to talking to you soon. My email again is tri@zycel.com. Until next time, we'll see you at another Tech Talk. Take care.